A call for help on Christmas Eve, answered with silence. In Las Vegas's glare, Elena Harper battles for her life and her twins, forsaken by those she held up. A journey from duty to defiance. Can one woman rewrite family? Her valor unfolds. Start now. The sterile hum of Las Vegas Medical Center buzzed through room 312, a faint counterpoint to the distant jingle of Christmas Eve carols echoing down the hall. Elena Harper sat propped against starch-white pillows, her chestnut hair tangled across her shoulders, her hazel eyes fixed on the phone, trembling in her hands. Pain clawed her abdomen, sharp, relentless, a twisting blade that stole her breath, but it was the voice crackling through the video call that carved deeper. "Don't you dare ask us to cancel our plans again," her mother, Grace Carter, shouted, her words ricocheting off the hospital's beige walls. "We've had these Elton John tickets for months." Elena's grip tightened, her knuckles whitening as she stared at the screen. Grace's flushed face, her blonde curls teased high, her Christmas sweater garish even through the pixelated feed. In the corner of the room, her 2-year-old twins, Liam and Sophie, giggled softly. Liam stacking plastic blocks, Sophie cradling a stuffed bunny, oblivious to the storm brewing. Nurse Sarah, a wiry woman with a calm smile, adjusted Elena's IV, her gloved hands steady as she checked vitals, her presence a quiet anchor. "Breathe, Elena, slowly," Sarah murmured, her voice a lifeline amid the chaos, but Elena's chest heaved, the pain and Grace's indifference a twin assault she couldn't escape. At 33, Elena was no stranger to being the afterthought. Her younger sister, Chloe, Grace and Henry Carter's golden star, had always eclipsed her. Now, as the hospital's fluorescent lights flickered overhead, that old wound tore wide. "Mom, I'm in surgery tomorrow. Emergency," Elena rasped, her voice cracking, pain spiking as she shifted. "The twins, there's no one else. Please." Grace's eyes narrowed, her lips pursing in a familiar mask of disdain. Broadcast live from their Henderson condo just 20 miles away. "Oh, Elena, always so dramatic," she snapped, rolling her eyes. "We're not missing this for your latest crisis. Christmas Eve with Chloe's a tradition now." The screen blurred, tears, not pixels, as Elena's phone slipped, her trembling hands fumbling to catch it. 6 months ago, her husband Michael's car crash had ripped her world apart, leaving her a widow at 32, the twins' giggles her only tether through grief and bills. Complications from that loss, internal bleeding the doctors had just found, now threatened her life, a jagged irony twisting the knife deeper. She'd called her parents last, every friend exhausted, her voice a plea against the odds. Watch Liam and Sophie. Just one night. Henry's voice cut in, gruff through the speaker. "You're a real nuisance, Elena, a burden. We're retired. We deserve this." Elena's breath hitched, a sob swallowed as the call flickered, Grace scoffing, Henry's silhouette looming behind, and ended, the screen blackening to silence. 3 years she'd sent them $2,500 monthly, since their early retirement, a lifeline for their mortgage, their dinners out. Never missing, even after Michael's death drained her savings. Out of love, duty, a belief family held each other up. She'd kept it flowing. Foolish, she saw now, as Grace's burden echoed louder than the pain slicing her gut. Sarah's hand found her shoulder, a gentle squeeze cutting through the fog. "They don't deserve you," she said, her calm voice a stark contrast to Grace's venom. Liam toddled over, his blue eyes bright, offering a block. "Mama," and Elena forced a smile, her heart fracturing. Sophie followed, Bunny clutched tight, their innocence a shield she'd die to protect. The surgery loomed, internal bleeding, a risk the doctor's curt, "We need to act fast," had underscored. And the thought of leaving them terrified her. Not the pain, not the scalpel, but leaving them with Grace and Henry, who'd see them as fussy chores, not grandchildren to cherish. She'd built a warm home with Michael, laughter, love, shattered by a drunk driver, and now her parents' coldness threatened its last remnants. Sarah adjusted the IV drip, her brown eyes meeting Elena's with a quiet resolve. "My friend Rachel's a nanny, specializes in trauma. She could help with the twins. Let me call her." Elena blinked, tears spilling onto the blanket. The offer a lifeline she hadn't dared hope for. Grace's voice, nuisance, burden, clashed with Sarah's kindness, a contrast so stark it burned. "Yes," she whispered, voice trembling but firm. "Please call her." The words cracked something open. A decision simmering beneath the pain, a refusal to beg those who'd never cared. She hung up the blank screen, Grace's concert plans a fading echo, her plea unanswered but no longer unheard. The Las Vegas Medical Center's room, 312 hummed with a sterile stillness, the faint beep of monitors threading through the quiet as Elena Harper sank deeper into the hospital bed, the IV line tugging at her arm. Pain gnawed her abdomen, a relentless twist, a blade sharpened by fear, but it was the echo of her mother's voice. "Don't you dare ruin our plans!" That seared hotter, a wound no surgery could stitch. Her hazel eyes, swollen from tears, drifted to her twins, Liam stacking blocks into a shaky tower, Sophie clutching her bunny close, their soft giggles a fragile shield against the storm Grace Carter had unleashed over the phone. Elena's chest tightened, the weight of her silent plea unanswered, her mother's concert tickets trumping her life. Nurse Sarah stepped back into the room, her wiry frame a quiet presence as she pocketed her phone, her brown eyes meeting Elena's with a steady warmth. "Rachel's on her way. Should be here within the hour," she said, adjusting the IV drip with practiced ease. "She's amazing with kids, worked trauma cases at Children's before going private." Elena's breath hitched, a sob swallowed as she nodded. "Yes, please." Her voice lost to the pain spiking through her. The lifeline Sarah offered a beacon in the dark. Grace's sneer, "We've had these Elton John tickets for months," rang hollow now, her indifference a stark foil to Sarah's gentle squeeze on her shoulder. "You're not alone in this." Elena's fingers brushed the damp hospital blanket, tears tracing silent paths down her cheeks as Grace's words replayed. "You're a real nuisance, Elena. A burden." Her father, Henry's gruff echo cutting deeper. At 33, she'd borne that weight too long. 3 years of $2,500 monthly checks since their early retirement. A lifeline for their Henderson condo's mortgage, their dinners out, their leisure. Never faltering, even after Michael's car crash 6 months ago stole her husband and her savings. She'd sent it out of love, duty, a belief family stood together. Foolish, she saw now, as Grace dismissed her emergency surgery for a night with Chloe, the golden child who'd never known neglect. "Liam, careful," Elena rasped, her voice frail as her son's tower toppled, his blue eyes bright with a grin as he rebuilt. Sophie toddled closer, bunny dragging, her tiny hand patting Elena's arm. "Mama okay?" And Elena's heart fractured, a fierce love surging through the pain. They had lost Michael, his laugh, his steady hand, to a drunk driver's recklessness. And now this surgery loomed, internal bleeding, a ticking threat the doctors had flagged with a curt, "We can't wait." The twins were too young to grasp it, 2 years old, their world still crayons and cuddles. But Elena's terror wasn't dying. It was leaving them with Grace and Henry, who'd see them as fussy chores, not treasures to hold. Sarah lingered, checking the chart, her calm a lifeline as Elena's mind churned, Grace's burden clashing with the duty she'd shouldered alone. She'd called them last, friends tapped out, no one free on Christmas Eve, her voice a raw plea. "The twins need you, just one night." Henry's cut, "We're retired, we deserve this," had landed like a slap, their concert with Chloe a sacred rite she'd dared interrupt. 3 years, $90,000 sent. More after Michael's death, when inflation bit and they whined. Yet here she lay, bleeding inside, and they couldn't spare a night. The irony crushed her, family she'd propped up, abandoning her when she fell. "Liam, Sophie, come here," she whispered, arms trembling as they climbed onto the bed, their warmth a balm against the cold seeping through her gown. Sarah stepped closer, her voice soft but firm. "Rachel's got trauma training. She'll keep them steady, no matter what." Elena's tears fell faster, gratitude tangling with grief. She'd built a home with Michael, a haven of laughter and love, shattered by loss. And now her parents' callousness threatened its last echoes. "How much'll she cost?" Elena asked, worry spiking. Medical bills loomed, Michael's insurance thin since the crash. "Don't think about that now," Sarah said, her hand on Elena's wrist. "Focus on getting through this." The twins nestled closer, Liam's block in her lap, Sophie's bunny against her cheek, and Elena's gaze hardened, pain and disappointment forging a spark she'd buried under duty. Grace's face, indifferent, smug, flashed. Henry's grunt a chorus, and she saw it clear. They'd never cared. Not for her, not for Liam and Sophie. She'd sent money, propped them up, out of a love they'd never returned. Foolish, yes, but no more. "Sarah," she said, voice steadying despite the ache. "Thank you, call her. I'm done asking them." Sarah nodded, stepping out, and Elena's tears slowed, a flame flickering, self-preservation, a mother's will. She'd not bleed for Grace and Henry again. The room's hum steadied, Liam's chatter, Sophie's hum, a fragile peace as Elena's mind drifted. Michael's voice, "We'll build our own family, one that loves," whispered through the haze, his loss a wound she'd carried alone, yet she'd kept Grace and Henry afloat, believing it mattered. Now, with surgery looming, the twins' safety hung on a stranger's kindness. Rachel, not her parents, a truth that burned brighter than the pain. She kissed Liam's forehead, Sophie's curls, her resolve a quiet vow. "For you, I'll fight. For us, I'll break free." Unbeknownst to her, this spark, lit by betrayal, fueled by love, was the first step toward casting off a duty that had never held her back. The sterile glow of Las Vegas Medical Center's room, 312, bathed Elena Harper's hospital bed in a cold sheen, the steady beep of monitors a faint pulse beneath the pain twisting her abdomen, a cruel, relentless grip that flared with every breath. Her hazel eyes, still damp from tears shed minutes ago, flickered to her twins, Liam stacking blocks into a wobbly tower, Sophie humming softly to her bunny, their innocence a fragile anchor in the storm of Grace Carter's rejection. Nurse Sarah's voice, "Rachel's on her way," lingered, a lifeline threading through the echo of Grace's sneer. "Don't you dare ruin our plans!" And Henry's gruff dismissal. "You're a burden," words that had cracked her open, exposing a duty she'd clung to too long. Elena's fingers traced the IV line snaking from her wrist, her chest tight as memories surged. Grace's indifference on the video call, Henry's cold refusal to watch Liam and Sophie during her emergency surgery. 3 years of $2,500 monthly checks, $90,000 total, sent to their Henderson condo since their early retirement, a lifeline she'd kept flowing even after Michael's death 6 months ago, tore her world apart. She'd sent it out of love, a belief family held each other up. Foolish, she'd realized. As Grace chose Elton John over her grandchildren, Henry dubbed her a nuisance. The twins' giggles, Liam's "Mama, look," as his tower fell, Sophie's bunny waved in triumph, cut through the haze, grounding her in a vow, no more. Sarah stepped back in, her wiry frame a quiet pillar as she adjusted the chart, her brown eyes meeting Elena's with a steady warmth. "Rachel's 15 minutes out. Traffic's light," she said, her voice a balm against the pain spiking through Elena's gut. "She's ready to stay as long as you need." Elena's throat tightened, gratitude tangling with a spark she'd ignited moments ago, a refusal to beg Grace and Henry again. "Could you bring my phone?" she rasped, voice frail but firm, her hand trembling as Sarah handed it over, the screen a cold mirror to her resolve. Sarah stepped back in, her wiry frame a quiet pillar as she adjusted the chart, her brown eyes meeting Elena's with a steady warmth. "Rachel's 15 minutes out. Traffic's light," she said, her voice a balm against the pain spiking through Elena's gut. "She's ready to stay as long as you need." Elena's throat tightened, gratitude tangling with a spark she'd ignited moments ago, a refusal to beg Grace and Henry again. "Could you bring my phone?" she rasped, voice frail but firm, her hand trembling as Sarah handed it over, the screen a cold mirror to her resolve. Memories flooded, bitter, vivid, Grace cooing over Chloe's every step, ignoring Elena's college honors for a local ad Chloe filmed. Henry grumbling at Michael's wedding venue. Too far, their single visit to the twins drowned in complaints. Too fussy. Michael had been her shield. "We'll build our own family," his steady hand guiding her through their neglect, crafting a home of laughter and love until a drunk driver stole him away. She'd kept Grace and Henry afloat, $2,500 monthly, more after inflation bit, believing it proved her worth, her heart bigger than theirs. Now, bleeding inside, she saw the lie. They'd never cared, not for her, not for Liam and Sophie. The door swung open. Rachel, a tall woman with auburn hair and a warm smile, stepped in, her tote bag slung over her shoulder. "Elena, I'm Rachel, Sarah's friend," she said, her voice bright but gentle as she crouched beside the twins. "Hey, little builders, what's this tower called?" Liam grinned. "Big!" And Sophie waved her bunny, her shy hi melting Elena's fear. Sarah nodded. "She's the best." And Rachel's ease with them, kneeling, stacking a block, settled Elena's racing pulse. "Thank you," she whispered, tears brimming as Rachel glanced up, her hazel eyes soft. "They're in good hands. Focus on you." Hospital staff bustled in, white coats, clipped voices, preparing Elena for surgery, the gurney's wheels rattling as they adjusted her IV. Pain flared, a white-hot twist, but her mind spun beyond it, Grace's burden clashing with Michael's "our family." She'd sent money out of guilt, love twisted by neglect. But Rachel's kindness, Sarah's steady hand, showed her worth beyond their disdain. "One more thing," she said, voice steadying as Sarah handed the phone back. She blocked Grace's number, Henry's too, a final severing as the staff wheeled her out, Liam waving, Sophie's "Mama," a tether pulling her through fear. The operating room loomed, bright, cold, machines beeping as the anesthesiologist murmured, "Count back from 10. Elena's eyes fluttered. 10, 9, Grace's face fading, Henry's grunt silenced. 8, 7, freedom surging through the pain. 6, 5, Liam's giggle, Sophie's hum. 4, 3, a spark of self blazing. 2, 1, darkness claiming her, not with dread, but with a strange peace. Surgery stretched, hours blurring, the bleeding stemmed, her life held. But as she drifted out, weak but alive, Rachel's voice filtered through, "They're fine. Playing." Elena's lips curved, a faint smile, chains broken, a mother's will her shield, a new dawn whispering beyond the hospital's hum. The sterile haze of Las Vegas Medical Center's recovery ward seeped into Elena Harper's senses as she drifted awake, the steady beep of monitors threading through a fog of grogginess. Pain pulsed in her abdomen, a dull ache now, tamed by surgery. But her body felt fragile, a patchwork of exhaustion stitched with relief. Her hazel eyes fluttered open, the room tilting into focus. White walls, a dim Christmas Eve glow beyond the window, and Nurse Sarah's calm smile hovering beside her. "You made it, Elena. Surgery went well," Sarah said, her voice a lifeline cutting through the haze, her wiry hand adjusting the IV drip. "The bleeding stopped. You're stable." Elena's breath caught, a weak nod all she could muster, as her gaze darted to the corner. Empty, no twins, panic spiking until Sarah added, "Liam and Sophie are with Rachel, playing, safe." Relief flooded her, tears pricking as she sank back, the memory of their giggles, Liam's tower, Sophie's bunny, a tether pulling her through the dark. 5 days stretched ahead, recovery slow, consciousness a flickering thread. But Rachel's voice filtered through memory. "They're fine, playing." A balm to the terror she'd carried into the operating room. What if I don't wake up? Her twins were her world, and Grace and Henry's rejection, "Don't you dare ruin our plans," had nearly shattered it. The hospital hummed, a blur of nurses, carts rattling, the faint jingle of carols, and Elena's hand brushed the blanket, her phone blinking beside her. 27 missed calls, a cascade of texts. Grace's name, 10 calls, Henry's, 8, Chloe's, 9. A storm she'd braced for after canceling their $2,500 monthly lifeline and texting. "No more support. Don't contact me again." Her fingers trembled, scrolling, Grace's first. "What's this about money?" "Answer," escalating to, "You can't do this. We need it." Henry's, "Bank called, mortgage is late. Fix it." Then, desperate, "Cruise next month, non-refundable." Not one asked about her surgery, her twins. Only their loss, their plans, their outrage. Elena's chest tightened, tears welling, not from pain, but from the echo of neglect ringing louder with each word. 3 years she'd sent that money, $90,000 total, propping up their Henderson condo, their retirement dreams. Even after Michael's crash 6 months ago left her a widow, her savings bled dry. She'd clung to duty, Family stands together, but Grace's burden and Henry's nuisance on that video call tore it apart. Chloe's text broke the pattern. Mom said it was a minor thing. What's happening? Confusion, not venom. A glimmer Elena seized, her groggy mind fumbling a reply. Emergency surgery. Could have died. They chose a concert over the twins. Truth. Sarah lingered, checking vitals, her voice soft. Rachel's been a saint. Stays days, takes them home nights. Elena's lips curved, a faint smile. Rachel, a stranger turned savior, cradling Liam and Sophie while Grace and Henry chased Elton John. Thank her, she murmured, voice frail, the twins' safety a lifeline, as consciousness wavered. Days blurred, 5 in recovery, sleep claiming her, painkillers dulling the ache. But Chloe's reply pierced through. Oh my God, I didn't know. They lied, said you were dramatic. I'd have watched them. Sorry. Elena's heart thudded. Chloe's shock a crack in the family facade, a sister she might reclaim. Discharge came, Christmas passed, New Year's dawn breaking as Elena shuffled from the hospital, weak but upright. Sarah's arm steadying her. Rachel waited, auburn hair bright, a grin as Liam waved a truck. Sophie clutched her bunny, her tote slung over her shoulder. They're champs, Rachel said, kneeling to ruffle Liam's hair. We've had fun, blocks and stories. Elena's throat tightened, gratitude, relief, her voice a whisper. How much do I owe? Rachel waved it off. Later, focus on healing. Back home, a cramped Vegas apartment, toys strewn. Elena sank into the couch, twins curling beside her. Rachel's presence a shield as she hired her part-time. 3 days a week, please. Her phone buzzed, Grace's voicemails, Henry's texts, a relentless tide she silenced, blocking their numbers with a tap, their pleas. Mortgage! Cruise! Fading to static. Chloe stayed, limited, a thread-sheed test, her sister's sorry, a fragile bridge. Lawyers loomed, medical bills piling, but Elena acted, voice steady despite the ache. Draft a will, my friend Kate as guardian, not them. Kate, a college pal, had texted daily. How are you holding? A contrast to Grace's silence, Henry's demands. The twins napped, Liam's truck clutched, Sophie's bunny tucked, and Elena's gaze hardened, their safety her fortress against a family's hollow echo. Memories stung, Grace cooing over Chloe's dance recitals, ignoring Elena's graphic design degree. Henry's grunts at her wedding. Too far. Their one twin visit drowned in complaints. Michael had seen it. They don't deserve you. His love her rock until a drunk driver stole him, leaving her to bear Grace and Henry's weight alone. She'd sent more, $2,500 stretched to $3,000 when inflation hit, proving she was better, stronger, only to bleed inside while they danced. Chloe's I didn't know lingered, a sister blindsided, not cruel, Grace's lies a veil Elena had pierced too late. Rachel hummed, Twinkle, twinkle, as she tidied blocks, Liam stirring with a yawn, Sophie's bunny slipping. Elena watched, a spark flaring, neglect's echo fading, her worth rising. She'd survived surgery, loss, and cut the chains. Grace and Henry's fallout a storm. She'd weather beyond these walls. Her phone dimmed, blocked numbers, a sister's thread, a will to guard her twins. A fragile dawn breaking through the hospital's shadow. A mother's valor, her first step free. Elena Harper sank into the worn couch of her cramped Las Vegas apartment, the late afternoon sun filtering through dusty blinds, casting stripes across the living room's clutter of toys and blankets. Pain throbbed at her incision site, a dull reminder of the surgery that had saved her 5 days ago, but her hazel eyes glowed with a quiet strength, her chestnut hair pulled into a loose ponytail as she watched Liam and Sophie toddle across the carpet. Liam clutched a red truck, zooming it with a vroom, while Sophie trailed her stuffed bunny, her giggles a soft melody stitching Elena's fractured world back together. Rachel, the auburn-haired nanny, tidied blocks nearby, her hum a steady thread in the chaos Elena had reclaimed. Her phone sat silent, Grace and Henry's numbers blocked, their 27 missed calls and desperate texts. Mortgage is late. Cruise tickets. Muted since she'd severed their $2,500 monthly lifeline post-surgery. Chloe's thread lingered. I'd have watched them. I didn't know. a fragile lifeline Elena tested with cautious hope. Her sister's shock, a crack in the Carter facade. 5 days in recovery had shifted her. Surgery survived, twins safe with Rachel, and now, home, she'd hired Rachel part-time, her voice firm. 3 days to heal. Medical bills loomed, but the canceled transfers, $90,000 over 3 years, freed a weight she'd borne too long. A duty Grace had twisted into disdain. "You're a burden." A sharp knock jolted her. 3 raps, insistent, rattling the thin apartment door. Elena's pulse spiked, pain flaring as she rose, her steps slow as she peered through the peephole. Grace and Henry stood in the hall, Grace clutching her designer purse like a shield, Henry's arms crossed, his familiar scowl etched deep. Her breath caught. They're here, dread tangling with a spark she'd nursed since Christmas Eve. She opened the door a crack, her voice steady against the ache. "What do you want?" Grace's sugary tone spilled out, a rehearsed plea. "Elena, darling, we've been so worried. You haven't answered our calls." Elena's grip tightened on the doorframe, her hazel eyes narrowing. Grace's Christmas sweater swapped for a silk blouse. Henry's golf tan stark against his glare. "We're fine," she said, flat, unyielding, the twins' laughter a soft echo behind her. Henry pushed forward, his voice gruff. "We need to talk, this financial nonsense. The bank called about the mortgage. We had to dip into cruise savings." The audacity hit her like a slap. "No. How's surgery? No. Are the twins okay? Just their loss, their plans, their entitlement to her wallet." "I told you, I'm done," she said, her tone cutting through their facade. Grace's face crumpled, her pitch rising. "Sweetie, we depend on that money. You committed to us." Elena's laugh was bitter, sharp. "Committed?" Pain flaring as she straightened. "My commitment? I sent $2,500 monthly, $3,000 when inflation hit. While you couldn't watch Liam and Sophie during my emergency surgery. I could have died. Did you ask?" Silence stretched, Grace's eyes darted, Henry's jaw clenched. Their absence a deafening answer. "We made one mistake," Grace whispered theatrical, her purse twisting in her hands. "This isn't punishment," Elena countered, calm steel in her voice. "It's consequence. You chose tickets over my kids, over me." Henry's glare darkened, his arms uncrossing. "We're your parents. Show some respect." Elena's resolve flared. Respect? Years of neglect igniting. "I'm a parent too. I'd never treat my twins like you've treated me." Liam toddled into view, truck in hand, Sophie trailing with her bunny, their small faces curious. Grace's mask shifted. "There's my grandbabies." Her voice syrupy as she bent, arms outstretched. Sophie shrank back, hiding behind Elena's leg, Liam clutching his truck tighter. Strangers in silk and golf shirts, not kin. "They don't know you," Elena said, soft but firm. "You've seen them 3 times. Too fussy, you said." Grace straightened, her plea faltering. Henry's grunt cutting in. "That's not fair. We're busy." "Busy for a concert, not my kid's safety. Not my life," Elena shot back, anger rising, pain a dull pulse she ignored. "The doctor said I might not make it. Did you care?" Their silence roared, Grace's eyes glistening, Henry's scowl softening to discomfort, but no apology, no shift. "I think you should leave," Elena said, her voice quiet, final, as Sophie's small hand gripped her jeans. "When I'm ready, if I'm ever ready, I'll reach out." Henry's protest, "The money," died as Elena shut the door, the lock clicking with a weight she felt in her bones. Their muffled voices faded. "We'll lose everything." Grace's wail, Henry's thud against the frame, then silence. Elena Harper leaned against the locked door of her Las Vegas apartment, the muffled echoes of Grace Carter's wail. "We'll lose everything," and Henry's fading thud fading into the hum of the late afternoon. Her incision site throbbed, a dull ache from the surgery 6 days past, but her hazel eyes glowed with a steady fire, her chestnut hair slipping loose as she sank to the floor. Liam nestled into her lap, his red truck clutched tight, while Sophie curled beside her, Bunny pressed to her cheek, their warmth a fortress against the storm she'd faced down. Rachel, the auburn-haired nanny, stacked blocks nearby, her calm glance, "You okay?" met with Elena's faint nod, tears of relief not regret brimming as she whispered, "Yeah." The apartment settled, Liam's vroom. Sophie's soft hum, a fragile piece stitched from her defiance. "You chose tickets over my kids, I'm done." Grace and Henry's pleas, the money, had crashed against her resolve, their block numbers a silent wall since she'd severed their $2,500 monthly lifeline post-surgery. Chloe's text buzzed. "They lied. I'm sorry." A thread Elena clung to, her sister's shock a crack in the Carter facade she'd pierced with truth. They chose, always will. Her phone dimmed, the twins' giggles rising, but a knock, sharp, 3 raps, jolted her anew, dread spiking as she rose, peering through the peephole. Aunt Lillian stood there, Grace's older sister, her silver hair pulled tight, her face a mask of practiced concern, flanked by Grace and Henry, their expressions a mix of desperation and defiance. Elena's pulse raced, reinforcements, pain flaring as she cracked the door, her voice steady. "What now?" Lillian's tone was syrupy, a peacemaker's plea. "Elena, honey, let's be reasonable. They're struggling without your help." Grace clutched her purse, eyes glistening. Henry's arms crossed, jaw set. "They managed decades before me," Elena said, flat, unflinching, her grip on the door a shield. "They chose early retirement, knew their savings weren't enough." Grace's voice broke in, trembling. "We made those choices because you promised to help. We've had to cancel our cruise." Henry's grunt followed. "Might lose the house. The bank's calling." Elena's laugh was sharp, bitter. "Promised." Pain a dull pulse she ignored. "I offered temporary aid 3 years ago. You turned it permanent, assumed I'd carry you while I bled out in surgery." Lillian's brows shot up, Grace's gasp theatrical. "That's not fair." But Henry's scowl deepened. "You're twisting it. One night doesn't erase all we've done." "Done?" Elena echoed, voice rising. "You skipped my twins' lives. 3 visits, too fussy. Chose a concert over their safety. What's that worth?" Their silence stung, Grace's tears, Henry's shuffle, Lillian stepping in. "They're not perfect, but family helps family." "I did. $90,000 over 3 years, Elena countered, her hazel eyes blazing. "They helped themselves, to my grief, my loss, while I nearly died." She shut the door, firm, final, their knocks resuming, Grace's "please," a fading wail as Elena sank back, Liam climbing aboard, Sophie's bunny nudging her hand. Rachel's voice cut through, "They'll tire out," and Elena nodded, pain and fury melding into calm. Chloe's text glowed. "They're spinning it, saying you abandoned them." And Elena's reply was swift. "Let them, I'm free." Night fell, twins asleep, Rachel tidying, when Chloe called, her voice tight. "They're at everyone. Email blast. Elena's cut us off after all we sacrificed. Lying through their teeth." Elena's grip tightened. Of course, Grace's flare, Henry's gall. "What's it say?" she asked, curling beside Liam's crib. "You're ungrateful. Ditch them after a promise." "No mention of your surgery, the twins," Chloe said, exasperation sharp. "They told me it was minor, hid the truth. I'm furious. I saw it today." Elena's chest eased, Chloe's shift a lifeline, her words steady. "They've always lied. Chloe's the star, I'm the prop." The email hit, forwarded by Chloe, Grace's prose dripping. "After decades raising her, Elena's abandoned us, our mortgage, our dreams, gone. No surgery, no twins, just their woe, their cruise savings tapped." Then, backlash. Cousin Ben's reply, "Didn't you get a boat last month, Uncle Henry?" Aunt Rose, "That bracelet at Thanksgiving, Grace, new?" Private texts flooded. "What's the real story?" Family peeling Grace's veil as Chloe whispered, "They're unraveling." Jessica saw their mortgage ploy. Elena's lips curved, unseen reckoning, her $90,000 sacrifice a ghost they'd ignored, now haunting them back. Rachel brewed tea. "They'll twist, but you're solid." And Elena sipped, Liam's truck by her foot, Sophie's bunny on the couch. Chloe's visits flashed, meals, twin playtime, her sisters. "They pushed you out. I didn't see a bridge forming. Ben's wife dropped soup. Heard you were sick. Awful they didn't help." Cousins rallied, Grace's lies cracking wide. Michael's voice, "They don't deserve you." echoed, his loss a wound she'd borne alone, propping Grace and Henry up while bleeding inside. Now, their storm raged. We might lose the house. But Elena's calm held, a divide-splitting family as Chloe's truth pierced through. The Las Vegas dusk painted Elena Harper's cramped apartment in shades of amber, the hum of the city filtering through cracked blinds as she sat on her couch, a mug of tea steaming in her hands. Pain lingered at her incision site, a faint echo of the emergency surgery a month prior, but her hazel eyes shone with a quiet strength, her chestnut hair loose as she watched Liam and Sophie chase each other across the carpet. Liam's red truck zoomed with a vroom. Sophie's bunny flopped in her grip, their laughter a melody weaving through the chaos she'd shed. Rachel, auburn hair tied back, stacked blocks nearby, her calm presence a steady thread in Elena's new dawn. Her phone buzzed, Chloe's name glowing, and Elena answered, curling beside Liam's scattered toys. "They're in full panic," Chloe said, voice taut. "Foreclosure notice, 60 days to pay, or they lose the house." Elena's breath caught consequence. Grace and Henry's pleas from weeks ago, "We need the money," ringing hollow now. She'd blocked them after their doorstep demands, severed the $2,500 monthly lifeline, $90,000 over 3 years, her surgery's betrayal. Elton John over my twins, a chain she'd broken. "What about their savings?" she asked, Sophie climbing into her lap, Bunny nudging her cheek. "Mostly gone," Chloe sighed. "Boat ate a chunk, then Dad's golf buddy sold them a scam, lost the rest." Elena's lips twitched. Justice. Grace's, "We assumed you'd cave," text flashing. A week after her surgery, their audacity unmasked. "They begged last night," Chloe added, exasperation sharp. "Said they thought you'd send money after a tantrum. Pure panic now." Elena's grip tightened. Tantrum, their assumption she'd bend, after years propping them up while Michael's crash bled her dry, infuriating. "I'm not helping," she said, voice steady, Sophie's hum a soft anchor. "They chose this, boat, cruise, over us." Chloe's silence held. "I know," her sister's shift a lifeline, forged since I'd have watched them, cracked Grace's lies. The apartment buzzed, twins playing, Rachel brewing tea. As Elena's life shifted, a month unfurling strength she'd buried. She'd sold her too-small place. Diana, a widow from a support group, found a 3-bedroom house in a family-friendly Vegas nook, mortgage less than rent. A backyard blooming for Liam and Sophie. Her side gig, memorial websites, sparked by Michael's, grew, group members commissioning, word spreading, purpose flickering beyond survival. Rachel stayed, 3 days weekly, their champs easing Elena's recovery. Graphic design clients trimmed as she healed, her twins her compass through pain. Grace's email, "Elena's abandoned us," had boomeranged, family peeling her veil. Ben's new boat, Rose's diamond bracelet, texts piled, "Truth, Elena," cousins rallying, Chloe's, "They lied," a drumbeat. Then Grace's voicemails, blocked but forwarded. "We need $144,000. Help." Their boat, their timeshare, their excess crashing as foreclosure loomed. Elena sipped tea. "They'll survive." Michael's, "They don't deserve you." A whisper. His loss a wound she'd borne alone, propping them up while bleeding inside. Now, Liam's truck, Sophie's bunny, her world, held firm. Grace's storm a fading echo. Chloe's call lingered. "They blame you?" But Elena's calm held, a text from Diana buzzing. "House closes tomorrow. Playdate soon." The support group, widows like her, wove a net. Ben's wife with soup, a cousin's free babysitting, Chloe's weekend meals, Grace's burden, a lie crumbling. She'd sent $90,000, love twisted by neglect, only to face death while they danced. Now her strength rose. Rachel's hum, twins' giggles, a life unshackled. Chloe texted, "They're begging everyone. Boat's gone." And Elena's reply was swift. "Their mess, not mine." A knock, soft, hesitant, broke her reverie. She rose, pain a dull pulse, and peered out. Grace and Henry, faces drawn, a spreadsheet in Henry's hand. Elena opened the door, her voice cool. "What?" Henry thrust it forward. $144,000 to save the house. His tone desperate. We're tapped. Boat's a loss. Timeshares tanked. Grace's plea, we can't afford this, faltered as Elena gestured to the couch, curiosity, not duty, guiding her. Sell them, she said, eyeing their list. Take a loss? Henry snapped. Market's dead, Grace whined. Luxuries you can't afford, Elena countered, calm, sharp. Henry's glare hardened. With your help, we could! And Elena's voice rose, steady. What help? I sent $90,000, bled for you, while you skipped my twins' lives, my surgery. You chose. Liam toddled in. Mama! Sophie trailing, Bunny flopping, Grace reaching. My babies! But they clung to Elena, wary of strangers. They don't know you, she said, firm. You didn't care, still don't. Grace's tears. We'll lose everything, met Elena's calm. I lost Michael, survived. You will too. She shut the door, soft, final, their pleas. Please! A fading wail as she hugged her twins, strength rising from ashes Grace couldn't burn. The Las Vegas morning sun spilled through the wide windows of Elena Harper's new 3-bedroom house, its backyard blooming with desert wildflowers as Liam and Sophie raced across the grass, their laughter a bright thread in the quiet neighborhood. Elena leaned against the kitchen counter, her incision scar a faint twinge 3 months post-surgery, her hazel eyes tracing the twins, Liam's red truck zooming, Sophie's bunny flopping, as she sipped coffee, her chestnut hair loose in the warm light. The cramped apartment was gone, sold with Diana's help, a widow from her support group for this haven, mortgage lighter than rent. A space where her side gig designing memorial websites thrived, purpose flickering beyond survival. Her phone buzzed, Chloe's text. They sold the house, condo now. Blaming you still. Elena's lips curved, let them. Grace and Henry's foreclosure, a shadow sheet outrun, their boat and timeshare dumped at a loss, their excess crumbling since she'd severed the $2,500 monthly lifeline, $90,000 over 3 years, after their concert trumped her surgery. Chloe's weekly visits, meals, twin playdates, wove a bond Grace couldn't break, her "they lied" a drumbeat since Christmas Eve. The email backlash, Ben's boat, Rose's bracelet, had rallied family, Grace's pleas, $144,000, a fading wail Elena had silenced, her door shut on their last stand. A letter slid through the mail slot, handwritten, Grace's script, a rarity Elena nearly tossed, but curiosity tugged. She opened it, coffee cooling as she read, I've reflected. Watching you thrive without us forced me to see my failures as a mother. I was jealous of your strength, resented you didn't need me like I needed mine. When you asked for the twins, we failed. I'm sorry. No plea for money, just remorse. Henry's part-time job, their condo, luxury shed, a shift Elena weighed, Chloe's text echoing, therapy, Jessica's push, Dad's humbled, heart scare. Her gaze drifted, genuine or tactic. Liam's giggle a tether as she set it aside, unready to reply. A month later, she agreed. A quiet Vegas cafe, neutral ground, Liam and Sophie with Chloe, her heart steady as Grace and Henry arrived. Henry seemed shrunken, gray hair thin, posture soft, Grace in practical cotton, not silk, her designer gleam gone. Silence stretched, awkward, heavy, until Henry's voice broke, raw. I've been a terrible father, worse grandfather. Tears spilled, startling Elena. He's crying, his hands trembling. I see it now, selfish, blind. Grace reached, not touching, gesturing, her voice soft. Therapy, Jessica's idea. We fought it, but it's changed us. We failed you. Elena's chest tightened. Michael's, they don't deserve you, clashing with this shift. Her reply measured, I sent $90,000, bled for you, while you danced. I nearly died. You didn't ask. Henry's sob, I know, Grace's nod. We were wrong, landed, a crack in their armor she tested. I built this, she said, sliding twin photos, Liam's truck, Sophie's bunny, across the table. Without you. They listened, no interruptions, no pleas, a shift Elena clocked. Grace's they're beautiful, soft. Henry's, we missed it, a whisper. Can we know them someday? Henry asked, tentative. Depends on actions, not words, she said, firm, rising. If you change, short visits, supervised. My twins need respect, for me. She walked away, calm, no weight, no rage. A woman forged anew, her apartment a memory, this house a triumph. Chloe met her. They're quiet, shocked. Liam and Sophie bounding over, their mama, a chorus grounding her. The support group, Diana's playdates, Rachel's 3-day care. Wove a net Grace couldn't pierce. Cousins' meals, Ben's you're tough. A family born from ashes. Grace's letter sat, sorry, a seed she'd watch, not rush. Her valor a shield Michael's love had sparked. Our family. 6 months later, the cafe revisited. Liam and Sophie shy beside her. Grace and Henry softer still. Henry knelt. Hi, Liam, truck fan. Grace offered Sophie a bunny book. Like yours? Their eyes seeking Elena's nod. Supervised an hour, twins wary but warming, Elena's gaze firm, respect or nothing. A boundary she'd hold, her worth a flame. Grace's burden couldn't dim. Home glowed, backyard laughter, Chloe's they're trying, a community thriving, her memorial sites blooming. A widow's grief turned strength. Valor claimed, neglect's echo silenced. She stood fierce, a mother's love, her dawn. Elena Harper turned from betrayal's shadow into a beacon for her twins, building a Las Vegas haven from a hospital's echo. Grace's neglect forged her valor, proof that strength rises where love endures. In every wound, a chance to heal. In every stand, a life reborn. You hold that power, claim it. If Elena's courage stirred you, hit that subscribe button. More tales of triumph await. Like, comment your thoughts or town. I'd love to connect. Let's keep rising together. See you next time.